Listen, you won't believe it, but it was nearly 30 years ago. 30 years ago that Oprah first introduced the concept of a gratitude journal. Can you believe that? And the research rolled out from there. We know that expressing gratitude benefits our mental health. We know that showing gratitude to our loved ones is a great way to strengthen relationships. But after all of that, there is more women still aren't grasping. My next guest has identified 5 things we're missing about gratitude so that you can feel it more fully. This Thanksgiving season, I'm joined by Studio 5 contributor Shima Baughman. Great to see you, sister.
Thank you. So
we
good.
do hear gratitude, and there is a bit of a glaze that sets in because
Yes.
the benefit list is so long.
Yes.
And it's so significant that I think sometimes we just pass it over as unexpected.
Totally. And I think sometimes we think like, oh, it's another thing I should be doing rather than like something that is who we are.
In your study and research, you really have come to believe, this is a passion point, that it's more than a box to be checked.
Yes. I've been thinking, this might be my new goal for the year, but I'm definitely thinking about it right now this month is because I think children are really good at gratitude. When you watch them, like, this is the best day, like, this is the best ice cream, like, I'm the, the way that they feel life in any capacity, anything awesome that happens to them, like, because you have little kids too. Like, and it's like that little kid joy and gratitude, like, I want to just be that. I want to be that, because I think as adults, we get a little more jaded, more used to things going our way, things like food appearing on the table and ice cream having for dessert or whatever, it's like, we just forget that like, kind of joy that you have about about the things that you have as a kid.
There are a lot of vocabulary offshoots we could play off of, but as you were talking, one word that I've been sort of ruminating on lately, and it was brought to my attention by Savannah Guthrie, anchor of the Today Show, who wrote a book on God and her faith, but she kept referring to the word awe.
Ooh,
like, do we feel awe? And what you described, the ice cream on the table, right? Or the dinner that your mom, whatever. It's like, do we feel awe in our everyday? And that kind of channels into this feeling of deeper gratitude.
That's right, yes.
I love that. A couple points. You're here to tell us what we still might be forgetting. And you say gratitude, if practiced right, changes you from the inside out. You have a Miss America example
I know. It's not like me, the law professor.
I was a little surprised.
But I love this. So Barbara Jones said at Education Week, and I learned it from Hank Smith. And in the spirit of gratitude, I want to give credit to everyone I've learned these points from, because I think gratitude is important. But so she said to the audience at Education Week that Miss America pageant contestants were instructed, that one of their kind of daily tasks was to write 5 thank you notes every single day. Because she asserted that it would make them more beautiful. Like, it actually made them more beautiful. And I can see that that's the case, right? The more grateful you are, the more beautiful you become. And I'm like, that's a beautiful way to think. You never, right? I'm trying to come up with stuff we haven't come up with. And that's something I was like, I've never occurred to me that gratitude actually makes you better looking. But I could see that it would.
Well, it becomes consuming. It becomes part of who you are. And I do often marvel at the mind, body, spirit connection. And that taps into that.
So much,
Beauty from the inside out. Next, you say gratitude is not a checklist.
Yes, and this one, this woman, and it's been years now since I've seen her, but I was sitting at a pool in New York City, and New York has the best characters, so I love New York anyway, but I remember sitting and hearing this woman who just met the woman sitting next to her, so they were just meeting, I could tell, it was one of those conversations, and the woman that I wanted to highlight is everything the other woman would say, like, she was just like, where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm from, and she's like, blessings. And I'm like, oh, and then she's like, how many kids do you have? 3 kids. Oh, blessings. And she would just like really respond this way. And I was like, what a way to respond to people too. And then what a way of gratitude, right? She just had this gratitude about everything she was hearing instead of like, that's great, or you're so lucky, or, just responding with blessings. And I'm like, can I incorporate that into my language?
Right.
Because the way she saw everybody's life was just blessings. And I'm like, if I just reacted that way to things that I'd hear, wouldn't people also feel more blessed? Like, would you feel blessed if I was like, you're having a baby? And
blessings.
It is, right?
And it's contagious. And here you are talking about that outside observation so many years later.
And I remember just giddy, like, who is this woman? I want her to talk to me.
Could you come over here? Ask me some questions. You wanted to feel it.
Blessings. I'm like, it's so, I just never forgot it, because I'm like, that is the way to respond to people.
I love that. Another thought to consider, that there are 2 kinds of gratitude.
Yes, this one I learned from Dr. Janae Nielsen, and she said, and it's so interesting, it never occurred to me, but there's 2 types of gratitude in literature: relational gratitude and then kind of like object gratitude. And relational gratitude is the one that really kind of uplifts us, and it's the kind of gratitude of like my relation with my superior, my God, and also the people around me versus being grateful for things. And I think often when we think of gratitude, we're just like, well, I'm grateful for this and my house and my this and that, and not the like, I'm grateful to be a daughter of God. Or I'm grateful that I have parents that brought me to this world, or children if I have them, or you know what I mean? And so focusing on that kind of gratitude versus the objects is the kind of more lasting, more important gratitude for humans.
Well,
so
and
I thought that was
actually, if we're going to dive deeper, every object has a relational connection surrounding it in some way,
That's
right?
Like, that's right. I tell the kids, yeah, it's like God created everything. Well, like, yes, this plastic plate. I'm like, yes, actually, when you go back far enough, you did.
But we have this silly habit in our house. I may have mentioned it before, but with younger kids around, we if we see a sunset, we yell out, "Thank you, Heavenly Father!" But to bring personal or relational gratitude to the objects or the situations around you. Your next point about gratitude was taught to you by another culture's tradition.
Yes, it's the no Shahi Indians. I don't want to get that wrong, but as we know, Thanksgiving is a tradition that came from the Indians. And one of the really cool things is this tribe had this Thanksgiving ritual, and how they saw it is our voice is our tool to thank God. And so they saw this obligation, at Thanksgiving, that they would get up and say all the things that they were grateful for. So it started with like everything in the environment. So I'm grateful for water for the fish, and I'm grateful for trees for the animals, and it would just go through. And I think that's what, when you think of the original Thanksgiving, this tradition really inspired the pilgrims to change their ways, to be more grateful and have this ritual of standing up, using your voice that God gave you to be grateful for all the things that He created.
Vocalizing it.
And
gratitude, I love this point, Shima, because gratitude has become this internal practice, which is wonderful and good.
Yes.
But I think it's only amplified, right? Magnified when it's said out loud and blessings, shared with other people.
Yeah. And that tradition really kind of comes to this point with my friend Michael Steele is a professor at BYU. She said, gratitude is a source of peace. And it really does become peaceful when you think about, if we are so grateful for all the things around us as people, and as different people, you think of the pilgrims and the Native Americans, like having that gratitude together can really bring peace.
And finally, you want to highlight a Passover song called Day Anew. It translates to "It Would Have Been Enough."
Yes,
what does
this one I love
teach
so
us?
much. So this is a Passover ritual that Jewish people will do all the time, and really what it means is it would have been enough. And so they sing about all the things that their ancestors, the Jewish covenant people, had been blessed with. And so they'll say things like, the manna would have been enough. But then you also gave us a Sabbath. But the Sabbath would have been enough. And then you also gave us this. And it's this idea of like, it's all enough. Like, thank you for what we have.
Yes.
But then you give us so much more. And it's this kind of like gratitude with what we have, but also gratitude for what more we get. And I think it's such a cool tradition. I know it's not a Thanksgiving tradition, it's Passover, but I thought this was so beautiful.
And
this is from
beautiful.
Justin Collings. He's a vice president at BYU, that he put it out to all the BYU faculty. And I was like, this is so cool. I've never heard of this.
Layers.
Right?
It would have been enough.
It would have been enough. Right. When you think of like your kids, like each one, it's like that would have been enough. But then you bless us with another one.
Right.
And look at you now. And
Shima, you're a lovely
so
friend. Thank you so much. Gratitude, believing we have enough.
That's right.
5 different ways to take a deeper dive and to maybe explore those inner corners of gratitude that we still have left to grab onto. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.